Okay. So today we're going to discuss the chapter about not Shabbat. That was last week. Sorry. We'll discuss the chapter about kashrut, and we will have some deviances from the book on here as well. Different members will keep different standards. Some may be stricter or looser, and we usually try to follow the most lenient orthodox opinion that we can find, for the purpose of mercy, for the purpose of making it easier, like lower barrier to entrance for newcomers to the faith. And this is a picture of a beautiful Israeli spread. Dairy, no meat. Hummus, we got hummus, hummus right here, and tzatziki sauce, yogurt sauce, and shakshuka, eggs with tomato sauce, and falafels, and what's the eggplant dish? I forgot what it's called. Baba ganoush. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and I think these are like dried fruit or something. There's a falafel sandwich right there. You've got to try that in Israel if you go. Okay, so kashrut refers to Jewish dietary laws, and the word kashrut is the Hebrew word that refers to the Jewish dietary laws, and it's a variation of the word kosher. Kashrut is Hebrew, kosher is the English version of it, and it means fit or proper, or in accordance with religious law. So that's why people will use that word kosher for other things, because it means proper, fit, right? So also in the book, we learned that observance of kashrut is a spiritual discipline, and that the Jewish dietary laws prescribe not merely a diet for the body, but a diet for the soul as well. He regards them, this is the Jew regards them as divine commandments. We don't consider kosher laws as merely health laws, but they are divine commands. They're beyond just physical health. That's not why Hashem commanded it to us. It's beyond just for health reasons. They're divine commandments, and they yield, and we are to yield our will before the will of the divine, and to the disciplines imposed by his faith. Okay. And kashrut has social and communal implications. For barriers to total social integration in a non-Jewish environment are also barriers to intermarriage and assimilation. So it's supposed to be a bit disappointing for people when we cannot fully eat their food. It's supposed to be that way. They're supposed to see that we are different and that we can't just do anything. And it should also, even according to Rabbi Donin Halevi, it should even prevent us from intermarrying non-Jews. Because how are you going to marry someone if you cannot eat the same food that they eat, right? Or if they're going to eat food in front of you that you cannot eat? That would be very difficult. So it should do that. And there's all the basic laws, like there's a clean and unclean meats, not only clean and unclean, but there's also, in Orthodox Judaism, there's a very prescribed way that the animal must be slaughtered. When I say animal, I mean land animal. Fish, it doesn't matter. You can just catch a fish. But for fowl, for birds, and for cattle, those that split the hoof and chew the cud, it's supposed to be, according to the Torah says that they shall be slaughtered in the way that I have instructed you. And according to Judaism, there's no way that in the Torah, it doesn't say how to slaughter an animal, right? It doesn't say that, but the Torah says to do it the way he instructed us. And so, according to Rambam in the Mishneh Torah, there are 33 laws that are codified in the Mishnah that came straight from Sinai. And these have to do with kosher ritual slaughter. The rest of the oral Torah was determined by the great court, by the Sanhedrin, by the Beit Din Hagadol, by the judges of Israel. But the way to slaughter an animal, according to the Jewish understanding, was instructed or even shown to Moshe at Sinai. Okay, and then so we have that, and it includes, draining the blood properly also, and that the animal should be healthy. It can't have died of itself. If it dies of itself, it's nevelah, and it can be given to the Gentile to eat, but it also renders you unclean, which doesn't matter right now because we have no temple anyways. And then trefa means that it's the word trefa means attacked. It's been attacked by a wild animal. The definitions for nevelah and trefa have been expanded in Talmudic times, in later Mishnaic times, to mean more than just those two things, attacked or a carcass that dies of itself. But that's the bare minimum. The trefa means that it's been attacked by an animal, and nevelah means that it's died of itself, of a natural death, meaning it's still healthy, not diseased. Okay, so trefa, one of the rabbinic interpretations of trefa means it's diseased. So it didn't die a natural death. It's diseased. It died a diseased death. It was sick. That's also trefa. And those kinds of animals, if they're trefa, if they're sick or attacked by a wild animal, you are not allowed to give it to a human. You're not allowed to sell it to a Gentile. You can only give it to your dog or animals. But if it's nevelah, it means it's still healthy. It just didn't die with a ritual slaughter. Maybe you slaughtered it wrong or something like that. Then you can sell it to a non-Jew. You can sell it to a Gentile because there's really nothing wrong with the meat. It's just that maybe maybe it got into accident. Maybe it was a deer. So, a car hit a deer, let's say, for example. The deer is still healthy. It's just not properly slaughtered. So you can sell that deer to a Gentile, for example. Okay. Of course, also not eating meat and dairy together. Not eating unclean animals and other things. Now, there are many things in the book that are beyond what we practice, and we used to be as strict as the book, right? We used to be pretty much as strict as the book until we met our Breslov rabbi, and he kind of showed us that all of that was not necessary. That many of those things were chumrah, which means stringencies, extra stringencies that didn't have to be followed necessarily. You can if you want to. And he pointed us to this website right here, Kashrut.org. It's a really good resource for Pesach, for general kashrut questions, for how to eat outside, like how to eat at a restaurant as a Jew, what you can and cannot order, for example, things like that. And this site is run by his friend, Rav Abadi, and his son, his friend and his friend's son. I think their names are Yitzhak Abadi. So this is a resource that we refer a lot of people to. This website more or less is what our family personally follows. So yeah, that's all I had to share about this. Anyone want to? Oops, sorry. Still trying to share.
I think the Torah starts with the animals that we can eat for meat, except for fish and maybe poultry. The common occurrence of eating meat on the regular is a relatively new thing with refrigeration. for that, it was kind of a communal thing, because it took a community pretty much to consume the animal. And, it took a while, and it had to be disposed pretty quick because, the arid climate and stuff, unless they dried it out and made it in the jerky or whatever.
They could
But
also sell it at the store, at a butcher market.
It has to be sold quickly too.
what's that?
It also has to be sold pretty quickly as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It would be like it wasn't commonplace the way it is in our diets, but so we have that level. We have the level of the animals, and then we have the slaughtering, right? So a lot of times, some people are on board with the first level, right? The animals, and there's some people out there that well-meaning people who attach themselves to the Torah, but are not necessarily fans of Jews to a degree, and so they'll say clean and unclean, right? And that's a first good step, but we have to read the rest, right? Which Hashem says, well, here's the way an animal slaughtered. And he talks about, draining the blood, like Rebbitzin mentioned. But it's the ritual slaughter, I think, goes in line with similar to the Torah portion that was this week. It kind of shows a mercy from Hashem, right? It shows that the animal should have the least amount of pain inflicted on it as possible, right? So this goes into one of the Noahide laws, which is incumbent upon all people worldwide, and was also mentioned by the great or the assembly at Jerusalem, Yaakov, and the leadership, which was appointed by Yeshua, put in that you shouldn't
Don't eat things strangled.
Right. So that is still, and it's for everybody worldwide, right? Now, a Gentile can eat a pig, and when Mashiach comes, that's not going to be it's not going to be kosher, right? Unless it's way into Mashiach's time. There's other, but what I'm saying is that the Mashiach starts to bring the law universally, that we're going to be doing kosher laws as well, as referenced by I believe it's Isaiah 66, where he talks about the people who go and eat mice and pigs. Anyways, and that's a messianic prophecy. So, but there are a lot of different stringencies. My wife and I, when we first started really pursuing Orthodox Judaism, getting in, this is the thing that drove a lot of our friends away. And we were very gung ho for it, but to everybody else, it seemed like a legalistic standpoint. It wasn't for us to a degree in our heart, but the way we had made it into, we got to do everything. We've got to completely kosherize our kitchen. And, it could have been done with more grace, but,
it was done with a lot of zeal.
Yes, it was done with a lot of zeal. And there's a lot of mitzvot, there's a lot of give and take, right? Of what as Jews, there's also another factor in that we're not to cause any other Jew to stumble, right? This goes out into public. If it's almost like Jews turning the Canadians, when they're out to eat, they're like, oh, this non-dairy cheese, and they're saying that every time they say cheese, we say cheese, non-dairy cheese. Make sure it's non-dairy cheese, because we want everybody to know, because we don't want another Jew to stumble. They're like, oh, well, this must be because our brother is eating here. It must be non-dairy cheese, just because you want to you want to have a good opinion of your fellow Jew, and so you're like, oh, well, it must be because he's eating here. So, anyways, it's one of these things that Hashem doesn't really give us the reasons why he doesn't want us to eat these things, but he just says, "This is what I want you to eat, and this is what makes me happy, and if you want to make me happy, then you can do this too." So,
and
it does put us differently, right? If we travel as Jews, we pretty much are vegetarian, right? That's and then hopefully in the future we'll have more kosher restaurants, but in the meantime we don't, and our options are pretty limited. So
yeah.
Johanna, did you want to say something?
I wanted to speak
yes.
about that, like seeing making sure people I guess don't get things mixed up and that kind of thing, and that's one of the reasons why chicken, right? Chicken, it doesn't have, there's no milk involved with chicken, but yeah, we still can't eat chicken and milk together, chicken and dairy together. So, and that's the reason, is so that it's not like the appearance that you're eating meat and milk together. And so that's one reason why we as collectively as Jews, stop, don't mix chicken and dairy. And another interesting thing was like what you're saying, Safa, is when we were in Israel visiting, we were in a shop, we were in not a really restaurant. I think it was more like a cafe or something. We were just using the restroom in there, right? But I walked in there, and I guess because I'm the way I'm dressed and I wear tzitzit, to a Israeli, that's like you're very religious, you're very observant, very religious person. And so another guy came over here, come over to me. He's like, "Is this place kosher?" And I'm like, I was like, I don't know, I was like, we're just using the restroom here. I just wanted to make sure, like, because you have this perception, and you want to make sure, like, oh, we're not saying this place is kosher, kind of thing. So, but yeah, that's an interesting thing. But I also wanted to talk about in the beginning what you were talking about, Mama, about people I guess maybe upset about your diet, or you were saying that as well. And I think sometimes it's almost like it's not even a natural upsetness. How you say it? It's kind of supernatural in a way, because if you
for vegetarians,
if you would tell people, I can't eat such and such because I'm allergic to it, then they don't, there's no one cares. They'll go bend over backwards to help you not to eat whatever that thing is. But if it's a religious thing, specifically, I think even more so, even Jewish religious thing, then all of a sudden it just causes all kinds of problems. Like it becomes a very big problem all of a sudden.
it's offensive.
It's offensive. It becomes offensive, as opposed to just like, oh, you can't eat that because you're gonna get sick from it. Okay. Oh, you can't eat that because you're
you want to follow the Bible.
because you want to follow the Bible. All of a sudden there's this, just something happens, and it just becomes a clash. It's just like, it's not a natural thing, but it happens a lot. So
yeah,
that's all I wanted to talk about.
And that's why when if I have a friend that's let's say vegan, or whatever the diet is, it doesn't matter what the reason is, I will just accept it and try to accommodate them and not get upset, because I would want them to do that for me too, no matter what the reason is, whether you're allergic, whether you just choose that for health reasons, or whether it's a religious reason. But Johanna, did you want to say something?
Yes. Well, when I used to live in Pennsylvania, and I started following Torah 14 years ago, our family actually have a lot of challenges, maybe because of the location that we used to live, that was Amish. And so even though that the animal was kosher in the way that, there was a cow and chicken lamb. So
Mhm.
we did not have choice to go to the regular supermarket, and we try our best of our human abilities to find a kosher place in our area. But unfortunately, most of the Jews in that location in Pennsylvania, they are located in Philadelphia. Some,
Mhm.
I think they're in Harrisburg. And I'm not sure what else that I know at that time. And we having a lot of guilt at the same time. So what we end up in Pesach is was searching places online to buy the food, which was quite expensive for our budget.
Mhm.
So it was very challenging to keep kosher in that way and feel guilt, that you want to follow, but you have a certain budget for your family. And most of the places that we used to, order online was quite overwhelming. And
Mhm.
so my father say, okay, so Hashem knows that we're trying our best. He knows that we're trying to follow his, pleasing him in every single way. So that was one of our challenges. Then when we moved to this location in North Carolina, we are I think we are like 1 or 2 hours from that location. I
Mhm.
think because I have not been there personally myself. So I see online that there are few places, Jewish places and marketplaces that they might sell food, um, kosher food, and many other meat food as well. But we have not been in those places yet because we have been in kind of adjusting to the new life, start from the beginning, from living for so long to a new state, moving to another location, trying to get used to with the GPS where all the things are.
Mhm.
So right now, getting, I guess we can find a little bit more accessible, I would think, a little bit more accessible meat, if we go to those places that we're going to try to find out with my father. But so far, koshers that we have been looking over here, we see kosher food on Publix over here in North Carolina.
Mhm.
A lot of kosher food that they are in Greensboro in North Carolina that we have been seeing so far,
Mhm.
in our area, but it has been challenging because some places has been taking a lot of kosher, things out of the supermarkets. I have no idea what is the reason of that because when we used to live in another location in North Carolina as well, we used to go to a specific supermarket that we knew by heart that they sell kosher foods in there. And then out of nowhere, they disappear everything from those places. So we starting like blind again and say, okay, so this is going to be quite hard for us to deal with this. So I contact a rabbi closer where we used to live, and that's why we are end up getting a new information from them.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we're trying to do our best I can, but
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's not it seems simple, but it's not that simple.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
So our Breslov rabbi does not require a kosher certified label on all packaged foods. So, for example, if you're buying a bag of rice or a box of rice, if the only ingredient in the bag is rice, it does not need a kosher label. Or even if you're so this is our rabbi, like I told you, in the beginning, he is not as strict as the book, and recommended that site. So, or let's say you're buying a can of tomato sauce or tomato paste or ketchup or something like that. You don't have to, it doesn't need a kosher label, but you have to read the ingredients and make sure that every ingredient in there is kosher. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense.
Yes.
But for the meat, of course, it's different, because in order for meat to be kosher, that does need a kosher label, because it needs to be slaughtered properly. So meat is different.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, meat is probably the hardest thing to. It we just need more kosher butchers, kosher places to get meat from. It seems like you have to be near a big Jewish community to have access to the kosher meat.
Yeah, or you can also learn kosher slaughter. I have a friend in Missouri. He's a homesteader, and he converted, and so he didn't have anyone to teach him, so he just read the laws for kosher slaughter in Mishneh Torah, and he just does the best he can in terms of kosher slaughter, and that's good enough if it's for your family, and that's your only source of kosher meat. And of course, it's not going to be good enough for kosher certification, but it's good enough for your family and whoever trusts you in doing that. I'm personally pursuing certification, not to work at anywhere, but just to understand what the highest standards are for how to do kosher slaughter, so that we can do it for our community, and so that we can pass on the skill, because I think it's a really important skill to have. And with the rising prices, it's really good for Jewish communities, especially when they're outside of the big city, or just if you don't have the money to like buy kosher meat, but you can raise your own animals, to be able to slaughter your own animals. I think that's really important. Also, red meat was not necessarily eaten very often, but fish and fowl were. They were easy even for a poor person to get. You could fish or just catch, especially like a dove or something like that. Just like a bird in on the street, or flying everywhere. So also chickens are much easier to slaughter than cattle. So. Anyone else?
I did want to mention also that one of the reasons why our rabbis say that, or some opinions say that poultry or birds are considered meat is because when Hashem asked, or when the people asked, when we asked Hashem for meat, he provided quail, right? And so he said, "You want meat? Here's some poultry. Here's some birds, right?" So when it came down for meat and dairy, well, according to Hashem, what he provided us was meat. Even though we had meat, plentiful amount of meat, we wanted meat just handed to us. He provided birds. So, well, that's what he says.
Well, that meat, I think that word in the Hebrew, it means flesh. So it definitely is flesh. But the kind specifically that's prohibited by Torah is the kind that the animal lactates, and we drink from its lactation. But abstaining from eating chicken and dairy together, that is a strongly held custom that if you break, you will be considered a non-observant Jew. And I have Orthodox friends that would not trust me. They'll trust me to eat at my house now, but if I did that, they wouldn't come and eat at my house anymore. And they've told me that. And even though it's a custom, we want our children to be part of Israel, and we don't want them to offend our brothers needlessly by eating chicken and dairy together. Like, it's not, I don't think it's a big sacrifice. Like 100% I don't know. I guess I'd say 99% of observant Jews do it. Although I do have one friend though, that we did convert, and she married the son of an Orthodox rabbi in Israel. So she made Aliyah, and but he's a scholar. His father is an Orthodox rabbi, but he's a scholar, and sometimes scholars they don't follow as simply as a normal Orthodox Jew. So
They'll
he's
dig into it more.
yeah, they'll dig into it more, and he's like, this is only a custom. I will eat chicken Parmesan pasta, for example, chicken. I will eat chicken off. So now she was more observant before. She'd never eat chicken and dairy, but now that she's married to a Jew and lives in Israel and made Aliyah, now she eats chicken and dairy together because that's what her husband wants.
But only at home, from what I understand, right? It's not like anywhere. They don't do that in public.
Well, they're not going to go to
It's
his.
like in the privacy of their own.
They're not. Yeah, they're not going to go to his family's house and eat it in front of his Orthodox father, who's a rabbi. But they will do it in the privacy of their own home because they understand that it is a custom. So whether it's a custom or not, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't do it, because we're still part of Israel. I mean, saying shalom is a custom. Are we not going to say shalom to our Jewish brother? I mean, just because it's a custom doesn't mean it's bad to do, or we should still do it. We should still say shalom. Saying hello to an American is a custom, but you should do it. It's rude to not.
I did want to also address the alcohol that was addressed in this section. Most notably, as Jews, we partake in wine as part of our religious observance, and there is standards within the halakha on what is considered kosher wine, and so there's organizations that will there's CRC, crc.org. It's a Chicago organization, and other places. The idea behind wine is that the ingredients going in there have to be just straight, pure, wine, right? Grapes, right? No additives, and so a lot of times, especially, people have heard me kind of harp on the French culture, but French. They hold a lot of French and Italians. They've perfected a lot of wine making, and there's a lot of additives that go into it to bring it to to the marketplace, and put in additives so it lasts longer, or it has different tastes that bring out the fragrance of the wine. And so for Jews, pretty much the straight answer is that you shouldn't have any variants. It should be grapes. It should be the fruit of the grape, right? The wine should be straight from grapes. And then for alcohol, grain alcohol, stuff like that, it shouldn't be mixed with any other thing. It should be one source, one barrel. Like, so whiskeys, a 1 barrel whiskey, Scotch, things like that. So also once again, it's a crc.org has those. And there's other things, salt, but this is all covered in the chapter, and it's, good thing is Hashem is patient with us, there's a saying that a Yiddish saying from way back, a kosher hot dog is a kosher hot dog, in other words, if you go to say, if somebody offers you a kosher hot dog, Hashem is not going to hold you to the same standard as if you find out that it wasn't kosher, right? You took your fellow Jew's word, right? You see this a lot of times when somebody says, "Okay, well, I've got this, whatever it is, something from a scribe," and it's like, "Oh no, it has to be from me, and it has to go down." So we can have stringencies, but we should also be able to live with it doing the Torah, where it's not a burden, you know.
With the Hebrew national hot dog, there were some kind of bad, there was a bad report about Hebrew national hot dog, and people were saying that they're not really kosher, even though they have a kosher label. And our Breslov rabbi was very much against that. And they said, he's like, do you know who the head is of Hebrew national hot dog? And they'd be like, yeah. And I don't remember the name of the rabbi, but it's like, they're like, yeah, it's Rabbi so-and-so. And then our Breslov rabbi would be like, is he an observant Jew? Is he a trustworthy Jew? And they would say, well, yes, we believe he is. And then he said, well, then it's kosher. Like, I'm not buying all this, he basically didn't believe all of the bad news about it. I mean, sometimes accidents happen in a factory or something like that, but that doesn't mean that the brand, the label is non-kosher forevermore, just because of one bad
accident.
report.
Yeah.
So he's like, I eat them every day, which that's probably not, but that has had to do with Safa's story, he's saying about the hot dogs very specifically.
Well, back in the day when the hot dog sellers were there, and they would have kosher hot dog vendors and be like, they would get out there and say, oh, what kind of kosher? And it was, all that, and they'd be like, well, the thing was, I don't remember the exact term in Yiddish, but it was like, look, take your brother's word for it, how deep you're going to go down. If we go and we nitpick, we're going to find something.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a lot of Orthodox shuls, all the members, they do not trust each other. And the rabbi will only share a meal at someone's house if there'll only be like one or two members in the congregation that he trusts, his own congregation, that he trusts enough to eat at their house. And that's how crazy people can be with kashrut, is they're so strict that they don't even trust the people at their own synagogue, no matter how long they've been going there. And this is another one of the reasons why we have adopted our Breslov rabbi's more lenient ruling, because we don't want to be like those kinds of communities. And we don't agree that that's how communities should be. If you're in a community, you should be hunting together. Back in the days, not hunting, but you'd be doing things together, right? Back in the day of the Torah, they would do things together. The tribes would not hunt, but they would have cattle, right? Because it was tribal land, not just one person's land.
Right.
We need to trust each other if we are truly part of Israel. And the Orthodox world has gone kind of crazy with its standards. So there's a rabbi, I forgot his name. He's a rabbi in Hollywood, and he's a friend of our Breslov rabbi. Not Rabbi Donat Halvi. Anyways, I forgot his name.
The books.
He's darker. I think he's actually Yemenite or Mizrahi. It's not Chaim Ovadia. I've posted his Kashrut series in our Facebook group in the past. Anyways, he talks about how, he rebukes his members for having kashrut standards that are so high that they can't share meals together. And he prides himself in having one of the only congregations in Hollywood where the members of the congregation feel free to eat at each other's houses, which, according to him, that is not common in the Orthodox world. People, oftentimes in Orthodox synagogues, people distrust each other's kashrut so much that they will not eat at each other's houses. That's a very sad thing, and I agree with him. I agree with his assessment of that. I'm looking for his.
There's one thing. Can I say this one thing? I apologize. I mean to cut you off.
No, you didn't.
Okay. So there's Yeshua had our brother and our teacher kind of brings this up. Two of the main things that our fellow Orthodox brothers kind of bring up against Yeshua is his stance against washing hands, right? Both of them have to do with a meal, right? Either
Mhm.
first it was yes, one time it was Yeshua specifically, and one time it was Yeshua's disciples. And so the way I take it is, both situations, the man or the people that accused him didn't offer. They didn't offer to tell him he was wrong, or they thought he was wrong. They just immediately just started blabbing it to the whole world, accusing him, and didn't come to him and say, "Hey, brother, this is how you wash your hands in my house." They just assumed, "Oh, well, you don't follow my custom. You must not follow the Torah." And then Yeshua blasted them. And that's the way I see it sometimes is, if it is such a big deal and you feel it is worth breaking covenant and speaking bad about people, go to the person first and say, "Hey, listen, this is really on my heart and I feel you should do this custom this way." And the person can go, "Oh, okay, that's interesting," or you can hash it out, or they can, say, fly out the window. We all have a right to have our opinions, but we can't condemn people on it without at least going to them and trying to, rectify the situation.
Yeah, yes, that's very good. This is the rabbi that I'm talking about, the one that
I know.
it's Rabbi Yanyonatan, excuse me, Yanyonatan Halvi. There we go. His name is Rabbi Yanyonatan Halvi, and he has a Kashrut series also, and he talks about basically the dangers of being too strict, and what that can do to community or even to you. So
He recently actually said that we need to stop using labels, because he said, we need to just be Jews. I'm tired of, living up to the standard of what is Orthodox, when that wasn't even a term that was applied by us. It was a term applied to understand what kind of Jew we are.
it was a derogatory term.
Yeah.
Applied to observant Jews,
Right.
by Reform Jews, by the Reform movement, actually.
So just to recap here, there are a couple of hechshers, which are symbols that indicate that something is kosher. It could have a K with a triangle around it. It might have Hebrew letters, and it also sometimes will tell you what kind of kosher it is. For example, if it's a K, it's a small deal. D is kosher and it's dairy. It also can tell you whether or not something is parve, which means that it's like fish. Am I right, Rebbitzin?
Yeah, neither meat nor dairy.
Right, neither meat nor dairy, which means that you can utilize it with either. Keep in mind that what's kosher can change based upon what holiday is going on. For example, bread, or what's the word for that I'm looking for? Leaven.
Yeah, not kosher.
Chametz. Thank you, Rabbi. Chametz is not kosher for Passover. And
even kosher chametz is not kosher for Passover.
Exactly. Also, nothing is kosher for Yom Kippur. So we have different laws that come in there. Look for that. You can also see an Orthodox Union symbol, which is a circle with a U inside of it. There was an opinion on Orthodox Union. There is Kalav Yisrael, which is a specific type of milk that has a hechsher on it. You can find Highland milk, I think it is, or a specific type of Highland milk. It usually comes in these cartons. That's kosher and has a kosher hechsher on it. However, there was an opinion that by the Orthodox Union, still researchable to today, that all milk that is pasteurized and processed within the United States is kosher, and potentially could apply.
Yeah, my brother Rabbi also agrees with that.
So our symbols are K, U with the circle on it, or it might have like an Aleph symbol or something else Hebrew. You're going to see D, which indicates that it's dairy, or parve, which indicates it could be either. The general aspect of a kosher diet is it actually causes you to control what you're eating. You're not a pig. You know, you're learning now what you're eating, you're maintaining your diet, you're learning self-control, which self-control is ultimately a powerful element that you learn to not be a fool, essentially. You learn to control yourself. And when you learn to control your diet, you learn to control yourself and be oriented towards Hashem. So having a kosher diet is an identity of a Jew. There's also such a thing as glatt kosher, which usually applies to Hasidim. And glatt kosher, glatt means smooth, is a Yiddish word for smooth. And that's posthumously, they check the cow to see whether or not there is bumps on the lungs, okay? And that's another area of kosher. Also, there are different Hasidim or Hasidic groups who might consider one thing or another kosher based upon what type of knife they use for the shikita. So basically, if it has a hechsher on it, I would say it's probably kosher. Okay.
Kosher enough for me, not necessarily everyone else.
Right, exactly. If you know the ingredients of it to the point where you know it's like juice, for example, it's possible that that's kosher. But my suggestion is that, because if the ingredients are kosher, it's kosher. Like you can get Star-Kissed tuna that's kosher, but that one has a hechsher on it. But if you know the ingredients, you can know what's kosher or not. However, be careful whenever getting prepared foods that come from a non-kosher source. It happens, okay? There are some situations where
Like restaurant,
you
right?
have access to kosher food. You just may not. And guess what? You have to eat, okay? The sanctity of life still applies there, okay? And if that's all you have access to, at least get the thing. Like, for example, if you go to a restaurant, get a salad, okay? That being said, in general, the idea is to not go to a kosher restaurant, because if somebody's looking at you and says, hey, that Jewish guy goes there, I guess Jews can go to that restaurant, and then they get the wrong idea, that restaurant is kosher when it's not. A perception thing. That being said, if it's all you have available to you and you have to eat, do the very best you can within your kosher requirements. If all you got is a McDonald's, don't order the bacon cheeseburger. You know what I mean? Try to get French fries or salad or something that is not likely, or something that is more of vegetable. Anyways, that's just my thoughts.
Do the best you can, basically.
Yeah,
What?
do the best you can.
Do the best you can.
Yeah.
We agree. Okay.